Good morning, all. This is Sudhakar Lakawat, Department of Pharmacology. First of all, I would like to thank my HOD, Dr. Rajadev sir, for helping me a lot in taking online classes. Today, we are going to discuss about bronchial asthma and urinary antiseptics. Definition of asthma: to stay awake in order to breathe. Bronchial asthma is characterized by hyperresponsiveness of bronchial smoke muscle to a variety of stimuli, resulting in narrowing of the airways, accompanied by increased secretion, mucosal edema, and mucosal. In bronchial asthma, there is an impairment of airflow due to constriction of bronchial smooth muscle, that is bronchospasm, swelling of bronchial mucosa, that is mucosal edema, increased bronchial mucus secretion. The airway obstruction in asthma is mainly due to the release of allergic mediator from sensitized mast cells in the lungs. So, triggering factors of asthma. The bronchial smooth muscle is hyperresponsive to various stimulus like dust, allergen, cold air, infection, and drugs like aspirin, cockroaches, smoke, dust, mold, pets, and chemical odors, grass, and weeds. These are all triggering factors of asthma. So, this is a normal airway, and this is asthmatic bronchi. This is normal bronchi, and this is asthmatic bronchi. In normal bronchi, muscle is normal, mucus producing gland also normal, and mucus also normal, airway is normal, submucosa is normal, and mucus secretion is not excess in normal bronchi. Whereas in asthmatic bronchi, excess mucus secretion, so there is airway is narrowing, and secretion of mucus from the gland also increase, airway is narrow, and swollen the submucosa. So pathogenesis. So here you can see inducers, allergen, chemical sensitizers, and air pollutant, virus infection. All these are all inducers, and these are triggering factors. Allergen, cold air, sulfur dioxide particles, exercise. These are all triggering factors of asthma. Allergen, chemical sensitizer. These are all cause inflammation to the bronchial smooth muscle. When the bronchial smooth muscle is inflamed, then what will happen? Mucus secretion is increased. When the mucus secretion is increased, there is a airflow limitation. Then the symptoms appear cough, wheeze, and dyspnea. And bronchial hyperresponsiveness also increased. So there is a airflow limitation. And symptoms appear cough, wheeze, and dyspnea. Inflammation is the primary pathology. Antigen-antibody reaction on the surface of mast cell cause degranulation of the mast cell cause release of stored mediator from the inflammation and synthesis of other mediators which are responsible for bronchospasm, mucosal congestion, and edema. So when the individual is exposed to pollen or dust uh, pollen, then what will happen? Plasma cell release IgE antibody. Okay, when the individual is exposed to pollen, then our plasma cell release IgE antibody. This released IgE antibody bind to the mast cell. So mast cell contain vesicles. Okay, so mast cell contain vesicles, and pollen bind to IgE antibody and cause histamine release. So this released histamine causes allergic symptoms. So why asthma make it hard to breathe? Air enter the respiratory system from the nose and mouth and travel through the bronchial tube. So you can see here, here it is a inflamed bronchial tube and here normal bronchial tube. In normal bronchial tube, what happened? In a non-asthmatic person, the muscle around the bronchial tube are relaxed and the tissue is thin. So what will happen? Allowing of air is easy, allowing for easy airflow. But whereas inflamed bronchi, in asthmatic person, the muscle of the bronchial tube tighten and thickens, and the air passage become inflamed, and mucus is also filled. So mucus filled make and mucus filled make it difficult to move air. Status asthmaticus. It is a severe acute asthma which is life-threatening condition involving exhaustion, cyanosis, bradycardia, and hypotension, dehydration, and metabolic acidosis. In this case, silence is not golden. This is a very serious situation. You have to treat immediately. So, classification of the drug used in treat asthma. One is bronchodilator, anti-inflammatory agents, mast cell stabilizer, and leukotriene modulators are used in bronchial asthma. So sympathomimetic in bronchodilator, we use sympathomimetics that selective, non-selective, and anticholinergics and methylxanthines are used. These are all bronchodilators. And in anti-inflammatory, corticosteroids are used. There is systemic corticosteroids and inhaled corticosteroids we give. And mast cell stabilizer, sodium chromoglycate, nedopromil, and ketotifen. And leukotriene modulators, leukotriene antagonists, montelukast and gefillucast. Here, the line is considered as bronchial tone. Above is bronchial dilatation and below is bronchoconstriction. How bronchoconstriction will occur and how bronchial dilatation will occur, we'll discuss here. You can see here ATP is converted to cyclic AMP. So for bronchial dilatation, we need more and more cyclic AMP because bronchial dilatation is promoted by cyclic AMP. So when the intracellular level of cyclic AMP can be increased by adenoreceptor agonist, okay, which increase the rate of synthesis by adenyl cyclase enzyme, or by phosphodiesterase inhibitor such as theophylline, we slow the rate of its degradation. Bronchoconstriction can be inhibited by muscarinic antagonist and adenosine antagonist. Okay, here bronchodilation. How bronchial dilatation is occurring? For bronchial dilatation, we need more and more cyclic AMP. Okay, now ATP is converted to cyclic AMP with the help of adenyl cyclic enzyme. By giving bronchodilator beta agonist, when we will give beta agonist, they will increase the adenyl cyclase enzyme and thereby increase cyclic AMP levels. So when the availability of cyclic AMP is more and more, then bronchial dilatation will occur. Okay, and this cyclic AMP is converted to AMP by the help of enzyme phosphodiesterase enzyme. By giving theophylline, we can inhibit the enzyme phosphodiesterase enzyme. So there is a cyclic AMP is not converted to AMP, right? So by giving theophylline, we inhibit the phosphodiesterase enzyme. That is why bronchial dilatation will occur. Acetylcholine cause bronchial muscle contraction. So here bronchoconstriction will occur. This by giving muscarinic antagonist, we can inhibit the acetylcholine, and by giving theophylline, we inhibit the adenosine. Mechanism of action of drugs. Selective beta 2 agonist. Selective beta 2 agonist. Mechanism of action. Relax airway smooth muscle. Inhibit the release of inflammatory mediators. Inhibit microvascular leakage. Increase mucociliary transfer. Anticholinergics. Anticholinergics bind to M3 receptor on the airway and thereby prevent the action of acetylcholine release from the parasympathetic nerves and relax the bronchioles. Methylxanthine. Methylxanthine inhibit the phosphodiesterase enzyme and increase the cyclic AMP levels, thereby cause the bronchial dilatation. Corticosteroids. Corticosteroids are anti-inflammatory activity. Mast cell stabilizers. Mast cell stabilization. Mast cell stabilizer. These prevent degranulation and release of chemical mediator from the mast cell and depress the neuronal reflex which are X-aggregated. And leukotriene modulators. Leukotriene modulators inhibit the synthesis of leukotriene and inhibit the effect of leukotriene receptors. Monoclonal IgE antibody. This inhibit the binding of IgE antibody to mast cell and prevent degranulation. Inhibit the activation of IgE already bound to the mast cell. Sympathomimetics. Sympathomimetics are potent bronchodilator and are the most useful drug to treat spasm. Selective beta 2 agonist. In that short-acting, salbutamol, terbutaline are given by inhalational method. They are the fast-acting drugs, most effective, and these are convenient and relatively safe bronchodilators. And peak effect is seen in 10 minutes, and its action lasts for 6 hours. Most commonly used bronchodilators. These are most commonly used bronchodilators, and these are available as metered-dose inhaler, nebulizer, and injection and tablet forms. Non-selective sympathomimetic. Ephedrine. Ephedrine stimulates beta-1 and 2 receptors, and its action is slow onset of action, has low efficacy, and frequent side effects. So it is seldom used now. Isoproterenol. Non-selective beta-2 agonist. It acts on beta-1 and beta-2 receptors. With side effects: tremor, tachycardia, disturbed ventilation perfusion ratio of lung leading to hypoxemia and respiratory acidosis. So selective beta-2 agonist mechanism of action. One, stimulation of beta receptor increase intracellular cyclic AMP levels. So bronchial dilatation is promoted by cyclic AMP level. There is more availability of cyclic AMP is there, then bronchial muscles are relaxed. Okay, so stimulation of beta-2 receptor increase intracellular cyclic AMP levels. When the cyclic AMP level is more, then bronchial smooth muscle are relaxed and inhibit the release of inflammatory mediator from the mast cell. Adverse effects of beta-2 agonists. Beta-2 agonists are casually used in hypertensive and heart patients. Administration by oral route is associated with tremors due to direct stimulation of beta receptors in skeletal muscles, and tachycardia due to stimulation of beta-2 receptor and in high doses beta-1 receptor in heart, and restlessness. Continued use lead to desensitization, that is called down regulation of beta-2 receptor, that result in diminished responsiveness. Concomitant use of glucocorticoid prevent this action. Concomitant use of glucocorticoids prevent this action. Concurrent use of glucocorticoids or methylxanthine can produce hypokalemia. Long-acting beta-2 agonist. Salmeterol. It has low onset of action It is not useful in acute attack because it's a slow onset of action. Effect lasts for 12 hours and used for long-term maintenance and prevent of nocturnal asthmatic attacks. Development of tolerance occur if used for long periods. Development of tolerance is occur if used for long period. Methylxanthine. Theophylline and its derivatives like aminophylline are good bronchodilators. So ATP is converted to cyclic AMP by adenyl cyclase enzyme. So when cyclic AMP is more, then bronchial dilatation will occur because bronchial smooth muscle are relaxed when more availability of cyclic AMP. So by giving theophylline, we can inhibit the phosphodiesterase enzyme. So what will happen? Cyclic AMP is not converted to 5-AMP. So cyclic AMP converted to 5-AMP with the help of phosphodiesterase enzyme. By giving theophylline, we can inhibit the phosphodiesterase enzyme. So cyclic AMP is not converted to 5-AMP. So there is more availability of cyclic AMP here. So when there is more availability of cyclic AMP, bronchial smooth muscles are relaxed. Thereby bronchial dilatation will occur. So theophylline. Theophylline increase respiratory muscle strength and it increase mucociliary clearance and it decrease the plasma oxidation, neutrophil function, T cell function and macrophages function. It will decrease the plasma oxidation, it will decrease the neutrophil function, it will decrease the T cell function, it decrease the macrophages function and increase respiratory muscle strength and mucociliary clearance. Aminophylline. Aminophylline can be given IV slowly to treat acute attack of asthma which are not responding to beta-2 agonists. 250 mg slow IV over a period of 15 to 20 minutes. Because rapid IV causes collapse and death due to hypotension and arrhythmias. Convulsion to occur when it is given rapidly. And theophylline is a second-line drug in asthma. Aminophylline uses chronic asthma. Oral theophylline to control mild to moderate asthma. Etophylline plus theophylline injections are available. Deriphyllin injection IMP is used to relieve acute attacks. Theophylline has low margin of safety. Theophylline has a low margin of safety, so plasma level to be monitored. Acute severe asthma. IV aminophylline is used when sympathomimetic failed to treat bronchial asthma. Aminophylline adverse effects: gastric irritation, vomiting, insomnia, tremors, diuresis, palpitation, and hypotension. In higher doses cause restlessness, delirium, convulsion, and arrhythmias. Anticholinergics. Anticholinergics relax bronchial smooth muscle. Ipratropium bromide is given by inhalational method. It is effective in chronic bronchitis and COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It is safe and well tolerated. It does not dry up the secretion. It does not inhibit mucociliary motility, unlike atropine. Its uses are: it is an adjuvant to beta-2 agonist in severe acute attacks. It is given as a bronchodilator in COPD. Anti-inflammatory drugs. Glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids reduce bronchial reactivity, increase airway caliber, and suppress inflammatory response to antigen antibody reaction or trigger stimuli and reduce the frequency of asthmatic exacerbation. Glucocorticoids reduce bronchial reactivity, increase airway caliber, suppress inflammatory response to antigen antibody reaction at trigger stimuli, and reduce the frequency of asthmatic exacerbations. Steroids are not a bronchodilators. They suppress the inflammatory response to antigen antibody reaction and reduce mucosal edema and hyperirritability. Bind to steroid receptor in cytoplasm. They produce more sustained symptomatic relief than any bronchodilator and mast cell stabilizer. Mechanism of action of glucocorticoid. Glucocorticoids synthesize specific protein. The synthesized specific protein bring the following effects: decrease prostaglandin synthesis, inhibit the production of leukotrienes, reduce the influx of eosinophil into the lungs, reduce the release of mediator from the inflamed, reduce the release of mediator from the mast cell, decrease the synthesis of interleukins, and restore response to beta 2 agonist. So glucocorticoids synthesize a specific protein, that is lipocortin. Glucocorticoids synthesize specific protein, lipocortin, which inhibit phospholipase A2 and thereby prevent the formation of various mediators such as prostaglandin, etc. Glucocorticoids have allergic, anti-inflammatory, and immunosuppressant effects also. They suppress inflammatory response to antigen antibody reaction, decrease the mucosal edema, reduce bronchial hyperreactivity, and glucocorticoids do not have direct bronchodilating effect, but they potentiate the effect of beta adrenergic agonist. Systemic glucocorticoids. Systemic glucocorticoids are given systemically in acute episodes only. Oral prednisolone is used 30 to 60 mg per day. Onset of action is in 12 hours. Prophylactically useful in chronic asthma in inhaled form. Mast cell stabilizers. Promoline sodium is synthesized. Promoline prevent bronchospasm and inflammation to allergen and decrease bronchial hyperreactivity. It is used as prophylaxis. It is used in prophylaxis, not a bronchodilator, not useful in acute episode. It is used as inhaler. Take 2 to 4 weeks time for the beneficial effects. The adverse effects are bronchospasm due to deposition of the fine powder in lung. Allergic reaction can occur. Sodium promoglide. It is a synthetic promoline derivative, highly effective in preventing asthma attacks. It inhibits degranulation of mast cell by trigger stimuli. It also inhibits the release of various asthma-provoking mediators, example histamine, leukotriene, platelet activating factor, and interleukins from the mast cell. It prevents the late response and subsequent bronchial hyperresponsiveness by acting on inflammatory cells such as macrophages and eosinophils. It does not produce bronchodilation and also does not antagonize the constrictor effect of histamine. Therefore, not found beneficial effect in acute attack of asthma, and it has used for prophylaxis only. Uses and preparation of promoline glycate. Prophylaxis of bronchial asthma. 2 puffs 3 times daily for long period. Reduce episodes of acute asthma. Can be used before exposure to allergen. Young patient with extensive asthma is benefited more. And it is used in allergic rhinitis. Prophylactically nasal spray is used. In allergic conjunctivitis, eye drops are used. prophylactically, 1 to 2 drops, 3 to 4 times per day. Nidopromil and ketotifen. Nidopromil, similar in action to promoline glycate, given twice daily, 2 times a day. Ketotifen, it is an antihistaminic action similar to chlorine sodium. It inhibits the airway inflammation. It is not a bronchodilator. It is given orally and it has additional H1 blocking effect and beneficial effects seen after 6 to 12 weeks. So it is used in prophylaxis of bronchial asthma because beneficial effects seen after 6 to 12 weeks. That is so it is used in prophylaxis of bronchial asthma, allergic rhinitis, atopic dermatitis, and urticaria conjunctivitis. And its side effects are drowsiness and dryness of mouth. Leukotriene antagonist. Leukotrienes mediate inflammation. Leukotrienes are the mediator of the inflammation that brings about bronchospasm, mucosal edema, increase the influx of inflammatory cells and mucus production. So Gefileucast and Montelukast are cystine leukotriene receptor antagonists. They block the leukotrienes, so reduce mucosal edema and relieve bronchospasm. Its adverse effects are headache, rashes, and gastrointestinal disturbances. Uses: Montelukast and Gefileucast used in prophylaxis of mild to moderate asthma. They reduce the dose of steroid requirement. Bronchodilators effect is additive with beta 2 agonist. When these are given with beta 2 agonist, their action is more. Gelutel inhibit leukotriene synthesis by inhibiting the enzyme lipoxygenase and causes rise in liver enzyme. Nursing alerts. The nurse must not administer antihistamine to patient with lower respiratory tract infection. Okay, the nurse must not administer antihistamine to patient with lower respiratory tract disease. If the nurse administers this drug to patient with disorders such as asthma, the drying effect on the respiratory tract may cause thickening of the respiratory secretion and make expectoration more difficult. Acute bronchospasm causes severe respiratory distress and wheezing from the forceful expiration of air and is considered as a medical emergency. It is characterized by severe respiratory distress, dyspnea, and forceful expiration and wheezing. The nurse must report the symptom to the primary healthcare provider immediately. Bronchospasm may occur after administration of the inhaled corticosteroids. If an immediate increase in wheeze indicating bronchospasm occur after administration of the corticosteroid inhalant, the nurse immediately administers a short-acting inhaled bronchodilator. The inhaled corticosteroid is continued and alternate treatment should be started. Notify the primary healthcare provider immediately if the following sign of the theophylline toxicity develop: anorexia, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, confusion, abdominal cramping, or headache, or restlessness, insomnia, tachycardia, or arrhythmias, and seizures. Theophylline can be given IV slowly over a period of 15 to 20 minutes. Why? Because if theophylline given um, fastly, then what will happen? The above symptoms. So, okay, bronchial asthma is over. Now we are going to discuss urinary antiseptics. Introduction. Infection of the urinary tract is quite common and may be acute or chronic. Urinary antiseptics are drugs which exert antibacterial activity only in the urinary tract. but they have no systemic antibacterial activity. They include nitrofurantoin, methenamine, phenoxypyridine, and nalidixic acid. Common organisms that involved in urinary tract infections are E. coli, Proteus, Klebsiella, and Pseudomonas. Actions of urinary antiseptics. Urinary antiseptics are concentrated in the kidney tubules, which are mainly useful in lower urinary tract only. These drugs are used to treat lower urinary tract infection. Drugs: nitrofurantoin, methenamine, phenoxypyridine, and nalidixic acid. These are used as a urinary tract antiseptics. And so many other antimicrobial agents also used in urinary tract infection. Example: sulfonamides, quinolones, penicillin, and cephalosporins also used as urinary antiseptics. Nitrofurantoin. It is an odorless yellow crystalline powder with a bitter taste. It is used as an urinary antiseptic in urinary tract infection. It is used as urinary antiseptic in the urinary tract infection. It is primarily a bacteriostatic. In higher doses, it may act as bactericidal action in acidic urine. Primarily, it is a bacteriostatic drug, but in high doses, it also acts as a bactericidal action in acidic urine. It is slightly soluble in water. It is readily absorbed when administered orally. It is a broad spectrum antibacterial drug. It is available as 50 mg, 100 mg in tablet form. Trade name is Puradantil. The adult dose is 100 mg orally, 6 hourly for 7 to 14 days. For children, 5 to 8 mg per kg body weight for 7 to 14 days. Indication: it can be given in urinary tract infection, cystitis, pyelonephritis, and post-operative infections of urinary tract infection. These are contraindicated in contraindications: hypersensitivity, pregnancy, lactation, anuria, and renal disease. Used cautiously in patients with impaired renal function, anemia, and diabetes mellitus. And the drug interaction can occur with anticholinergics and magnesium trisilicate antacids. Adverse reactions: CNS, headache, dizziness, and drowsiness. Gastrointestinal tract: anorexia, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. Respiratory reactions: cough, chest pain, dyspnea, and asthmatic attack in patient with history of asthma. Others are hypersensitive reactions. Methenamine. Methenamine is a prodrug. In acidic urine, it is hydrolyzed to ammonia and formaldehyde. Okay, so methenamine hydrolyzed to formaldehyde and ammonia. Formaldehyde is the active form and it is acting as antiseptic. Formaldehyde inhibit both organisms and produce bactericidal activity. It is effective against urea. It is ineffective against urea splitting organisms because methenamine is not effective against urea splitting organisms, that is Proteus species, because it increases the urinary pH, because these are urea splitting organisms. So what will happen? Urinary pH is increased. When urea levels are increased, then pH level also increases. So when the urine pH is more, then it is not effective because it is active when the urine pH level is 5.5. formaldehyde inhibit both organism and produce bactericidal activity. It is ineffective against urea splitting organism. That is example Proteus species because it increases urinary pH. So when the urinary pH is increased, it is inactive. It is administered as entirely coated tablet to prevent the release of formaldehyde in the stomach. It is useful for chronic suppressive therapy in urinary tract infection. Indication: urinary tract infection caused by E. coli and Enterobacter. It is available as 500 mg 1 gram tablet, suspension containing 250 mg and 500 mg for 5 ml. Dosage: adult dose. Adult and children about 12 years of age. Orally 1 gram 12 hourly, and children 6 to 12 years age 500 mg to 1 gram 12 hourly, and orally maximum 2 gram per day. Contraindication: methenamine is contraindicated in patients with hepatic insufficiency because of release of ammonia. Adverse effects are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and even hematuria with high doses. Nalidixic acid. It acts by inhibiting bacterial deoxygenase enzyme. It is urinary anti-infective drug. It is odorless, pale yellow crystalline powder. It is insoluble in water. It acts on gram-negative organism. It is used in the treatment of UTI and GI infection, urinary tract infection and gastrointestinal infection caused by E. coli, Shigella, and Salmonella. Indication: it is used in acute and chronic urinary tract infection, cystitis, urethritis, pyelonephritis, gastrointestinal infection, diarrhea, dysentery produced by Salmonella and Shigella and E. coli. Dosage: adult dose orally 1 gram 6 hourly, orally for 7 days. For children 55 mg per kg body weight for 7 days. It is not recommended below 3 months of age. Side effects: the main side effects are GI upset, headache, drowsiness, vertigo, and visual disturbances. And prolonged use can produce Parkinsonism-like symptoms. In individual with G6PD deficiency can cause hemolysis also, because G6PD maintain the integrity of the RBC cell. So with the deficiency of G6PD, there is a loss of integrity of the RBCs. So when this drug give, the lysis of RBC will occur. That is why individual with G6PD deficiency can cause hemolysis. Contraindications: hypersensitivity, pregnancy, and convulsion disorder, and liver disorder, and child below 3 months of age. Drug interaction: it reduces the effect of antacids. Phenoxypyridine: it is not an antimicrobial agent. It is a dye and has analgesic action in the urinary tract. It relieves pain and burning sensation, urinary and frequency of urination associated with cystitis. It relieves pain, burning sensation, urinary frequency, and urgency associated with cystitis. It makes the urine orange red, which is harmless. Indication: pain with UTI, urinary tract infection, and urinary tract irritation, burning micturition, dysuria, and cystitis. Dosage: adult dose 100 mg to 400 mg 8 hourly, orally after meals. Side effects: occasionally it may cause nausea, vomiting, and heartburn. Anorexia: it is contraindicated in liver dysfunction patients, renal impairment, and children below 12 years of age. Nurses role: assess the insomnia, vertigo, headache, and drowsiness in patients. In case of in case of long-term therapy, complete blood cell count should be done to check the anemia in patient. In case of long-term therapy, complete blood cell count should be done to check the anemia in patient. Assess fever and rash and urticaria, and advise the patient to take medicine with food or milk. The drug may cause drowsiness, so advise the patient not to drive the vehicle. So advise the patient of possible adverse reaction, that drug color urine red or orange and it may stay in the clothing. Use with caution in elderly patient because of possible decreased renal function. Administration with food or fluid to reduce GI upset. Nitrofurantoin suspension can be protected from freezing, and shake the bottle before use. Assess the intake and output ratio to determine hematuria, and advise the patient to take plenty of fluid, 2 to 3 liters, to avoid crystallization in kidney. To advise the patient not to discontinue the treatment without the permission of prescriber. Okay, thank you all.